So, well, then you guys created, tell me when you guys created Forever 15.
15 project has only been a project since January of 22.
Oh, okay.
Wait, 23.
23.
23.
Okay,
This
so
year.
it's not even a
this
year
year.
old.
Not
Okay.
a year old yet.
Okay.
Yeah. And I knew early on, that I wanted Noah to be more than a sad story because Noah was a great kid.
Yeah.
So we didn't know exactly what we wanted to do. We didn't know. We already had been from September to December. We had already done 50 presentations with Anthony. And just one day, I was just like, Forever 15 project. And he looked up, there's a couple in our church who also lost a child, to cancer, childhood cancer. And they have a very successful nonprofit. So we got with them and they gave us the steps, and Brandon followed them one by one. And here we are.
So it's become like your passion project.
Yeah, actually it was the billboard. I really wanted a billboard. So in November of 22, I really reached out to the community because billboards are expensive.
Yeah. What you would think for your cause, they'd be like, let's donate it,
Yeah.
But let's not get me started on that.
Well. Okay, so I wanted the billboard here in Kyle, the digital billboard, and I wanted the faces of the 3 boys because they're from here, and I wanted their friends to see.
Yeah.
Like,
They touch home, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Media Choice, I paid for 3 months for that billboard. The community stepped up and gave us all the funds for that. And then they were like, the first day it went up, it went up on a Sunday. The Monday, the lady I was working with Media Choice called me and said, we have so many messages about this billboard. We're going to offer y'all, was it like 5 or 6 across Texas? Like in
nice.
San Antonio and Converse and Jarrell and Smithville. She's like, we're just going to put them up there for y'all. And so we had all of those billboards. And, and they run indefinitely when there's free space available. So...
Yeah.
So that was good.
Yeah, that was good. You made it better.
Yeah.
So you speak at schools if they allow you.
Yeah.
Well, we have never had to reach out to a school and ask.
Okay.
We are sought out by a lot of schools, but we have not heard from Travis County. Yeah,
Which is
at all.
So disappointing.
We did do a middle school in Southwest Austin. Is it Bailey Middle School? We did that middle school, and I think that's the only Austin school.
And I
that
think
we've done.
that one other one was part of Eanes, the one right there off Mopac. Isn't that part of Eanes ISD? I don't remember the name of it.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm sure as you go to so many, they all kind of blur.
And it's hard to know what districts were.
Right.
Especially in Austin. Yeah.
So, what are your plans with Forever 15? Like, how are you wanting to go national, worldwide?
Well, when our billboard came out, it went. I mean, it took off. Like our name was out there, and we were reached out by Jim Jordan's office.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it was funny because we're driving down the highway. He's driving, and I'm just going through the
We
email.
were in downtown Buda.
Oh, okay. Were we? I don't remember. He was driving, and I'm reading this email, and I'm like, and he's like, grabs my phone, and he's like, "What is this real?" And I'm like, "Who is that?"
I pulled off the road. I pulled off the road immediately, and I grabbed when I heard her say Jim Jordan, because she doesn't know.
Right.
I followed politics off and on since I was a teenager. Like, I remember, listening to Rush Limbaugh on WOAI, and because where I grew up, it was mostly San Antonio radio stations, and listening to Rush Limbaugh. So I just followed politics, and she said Jim Jordan. We were in downtown Buda,
He's like, I remember exactly where we were.
by Summer Moon. And we were coming this way, and she said, Jim Jordan, and I just pulled in the first spot.
Brakes.
And I grabbed the phone, and I'm reading it. And so Jeremy Haynes was the person that sent it to us. So I Googled Jeremy Haynes.
Like, is this legit?
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, he worked for Ted Cruz. He worked for this person. He worked for that person. Okay. Then I Google his phone number and make sure that's legit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, this looks legit. And it was, they invited us to the first House Judiciary Committee hearing of this year in February. And we got that email 3 days before, 4 days before. And we called and we ironed out some details. They were kind of dodgy when it came to giving us money to get there. It was kind of made out that, we have to get there. So we contacted... I started texting. Right. I started texting my family because they're very into politics. So I was texting them. Look what we got. Look what we got invited to. We texted one of our friends, Hunter, whose son had passed away from fentanyl. Also, all these like hardcore right wing, following politics people, because it's Jim Jordan. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
And so people started donating money for us to fly to Washington, for us to pay for a room. So we went up there, and we got there and we met with Jim's staff. They took us to the Capitol, and they took us by Chip Roy's office. Because we were in Hays County, they thought Chip Roy was our representative, but we're on this side of the line, which we'll get to later. But they took us to Chip's office. My parents, my sister, most of our friends all live in Chip Roy's district. So we met with Chip for about an hour because he's on the committee also. We told, our story. We told Noah's story. And the next day we went. It wasn't on Capitol Hill, though. It was in one of the little off buildings. But we went to Capitol Hill. And when we were talking to Jeremy, and I don't remember the other woman's name, it was one of his counsel, their legal counsel. They're like, oh, it's just going to be a few hours, go up there and read your statement, and they're going to ask you some questions here and there. We were up there all day. And
do they provide you snacks?
Yeah. And they provided us a lunch. They brought food in, and it was good, but it was also upsetting because it devolved into the fighting back and forth. But we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
So after that, though, like, we took off even more. People started, we had to stay over an extra day to do interviews. I did an interview with Fox and Friends. I did an interview with Laura Ingraham. I did a Newsmax interview. I don't remember the show. Janel did 2 interviews, and then people just started emailing us. Our email. We hadn't even got our 501c3 stuff yet. We had filed it.
Yeah.
And people were emailing us, just reaching out, donating money,
Which
asking
is
us
great
to go speak.
People are obviously seeing that this is needed and a cause that they got to back.
Yeah.
So.
And we just started taking off from there. And like Janelle said, we don't seek people out.
Right.
They contact us. We've been to several conferences. We went to Emerging Drug Trends Conference. We went to a counties National Association of Counties here in Austin. We went to Crimes Against Children Conference in Dallas just to network. We set up our booth. We have our information, our little freebies, our wristbands and stuff, our business cards, and people reach out from everywhere. South Carolina, New Mexico, Louisiana, Kansas, New York, but
Yeah.
nothing ever came of that.
They got a lot going on right now.
But yeah, it's been very, I don't want to say word of mouth, but it almost is word of mouth. You know, we don't have an advertising campaign. We don't have, you know, famous people out there promoting us. We don't have this big organization. It's us too.
Right.
That's, you know.
Yeah.
So
And I think that's almost what's so upsetting about, you know, this is I think if it really affected somebody that like people look as like Hollywood or some sort of socialite.
but it has.
But it, like I said, it gives like 1 minute of attention
Yeah.
and then it dissipates,
Yeah.
you know? So it's like, you would think even it's affecting your own, you would care. And like, I also don't understand why there has to be like a political backing behind kids dying of fentanyl poisoning. Like it shouldn't be a political thing. It's just wrong. You need to prevent it from happening. Like you need to be protecting the kids. You need to be protecting the border. You need to be protecting like this nation. And I don't understand why that has.
They equate the two in their heads, but they don't want to come out and say it in public.
Right. Yeah.
You know, we've worked a lot with state legislature on things. And as all you guys know, our representative is a Democrat. Mm-hmm. But, you know, we put that aside. I mean, we're not going to not work with somebody just because they share different political views.
Right.
And she, you know, her office has been really great with helping us. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've done a lot of good in this last session at the state level.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, so with the passion behind Forever 15, then drove you to run for Congress?
yes.
Okay, so tell us how that came about.
In my head, a lot of it was from when we went to Washington. Mm-hmm. You know, you see all this stuff on TV, these hearings, and it's like that all day long.
Ugh.
It's just, you know, the committee hearing was about border security, and it immediately just went left into immigration. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting there the whole day while these people fight
Right.
about immigration. And
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
The theatrics of it all.
yeah, I'm not here for that. Yes, I care about immigration.
Right.
But I care about the fentanyl that's coming across the border. Mm-hmm. One of the sheriffs we met at the One Pill Can Kill conference is from Terrell County, which is Sanderson out past Del Rio out west. And he had commented on one of my posts the other day about, you know, the left wants to argue that, you know, it's all coming in from the ports of entry and all this stuff. And the right wants to argue about, you know, it's because of all the immigration. It doesn't really matter.
Right.
It's here.
Yeah, how do we keep it from coming
And
here?
we need to address that it's here and it's a problem. And nobody's even doing that.
Right.
You know, like I said, you know, we met with Chip. I know Chip Roy has talked a lot about it. Even before this current political cycle, our rep has not. We haven't heard from our rep. I haven't been able to find anything where our representative at the national level even addresses the issue
Yeah.
at all, except to say that it's not the immigrants. And it's frustrating. And that was the main reason behind it, because there are very few representatives in Congress that are, this is going to sound bad, normal people, like
Right.
regular people. I don't want to say normal people. Regular people.
Humble.
You know, they're all wealthy
Right.
attorneys
Yeah.
or whatever.
Because it takes money to
Yeah.
run for politics.
Well, but that doesn't go into your pocket when
No.
you're done. It's not
No.
supposed to.
No.
You know, what originally was intended is you're a representative of your community.
Yep.
You go to Washington, you speak for
Your
the people
community.
in your community.
Your elected
and
people.
then you go home. You don't, it's not a full-time job
Right.
where you get to make money on the side off of whatever you got going on.
Right.
And people don't feel represented.
No, I think they don't feel represented. I think they definitely don't feel heard.
Yeah.
Or even, that they matter.
And it's always the talking point of the day.
Mm-hmm.
It's always, we're going to go out and get the other side.
Mm-hmm.
They did this, so we're going to make sure and expose what they did wrong.
Right.
And, people are struggling. We're not wealthy people.
Yeah.
I work a regular full-time job. She works a part-time job so she can manage the nonprofit and homeschool our 6-year-old.
Mm-hmm. Kudos to you for that.
And a lot of families out there are just like us.
Yeah.
And, every day you're up there complaining about what Hunter Biden did or what, this person did or which are important things.
Right.
Some really bad things happened that were mishandled, but the American people are struggling day to day.
Yeah.
And y'all aren't addressing that.
No. Yeah.
Take care of that first, and then you can fight about what you want to fight about.
Right. I mean, I have a saying that you can't take care of your front yard until you take care of your backyard.
Exactly.
And so, we want to help out every other country, but we're not taking care of our own people.
Exactly.
And I think that if things don't start to change, you're going to see a huge revolt that I don't think they're prepared to handle. And it's going to take people like you that are upset with how things are going and think, you know what? I don't have any special interest. I don't care about making money to afford a second and a third and a fourth home. I want to just make a difference for my family, for my community, for, our friends. So we're not having to have these hard conversations of how we're going to keep our kids safe, how we're going to be able to afford things so I think it's going to take a lot of just regular people that are fed up to make the change and the difference.
And just, I don't know, everybody's so polarized.
Yes. And they want the divide. They want us to fight with each other. They want us to hate each other.
But you're never going to get anything done.
No. It's constant. It's a 3-ring circus of distractions.
I read a survey the other day, and it was, different things about what average voters were concerned about. And I don't remember what the top 2 were. But the third one on the list, and it was 61 and 62% for both sides, was they don't have confidence in the government to work together to solve problems. Mm-hmm. The third most important issue.
Yeah, which I believe.
The American people don't trust the federal government to work together to solve the country's problems.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and I've heard some of them say, when the cameras are rolling for C-SPAN, it's this whole, dramatized event, but then they're not really doing anything behind the scenes or doing anything in their office. They're just trying to make it look like they're doing something for their people. Yeah. And it's I don't care about the theatrics. I want to see actions. I don't care about your words.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's, I was looking at Greg Casar's voting record because he is the representative that I'm running against. And every piece of legislation that's been proposed, almost everyone, he's voted against. Mm-hmm. Because when you look at the text, there's provisions in there, especially the appropriations bills, of how you can't use any of this money for critical race theory or, promoting LGBTQ in schools and stuff like that. And they're taking these hardline positions of voting against things because they have small things in there they don't like. Mm-hmm. And, I understand that. It's not supposed to be that way, but apparently you can't. Nobody wants to do single item legislation.
Right.
They want to do these huge packages.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. I guess it takes up less time or whatever the case may be. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know how it works.
Because they only want to work 3 weeks out of 365 days.
And so, you're voting down DOD appropriations. You're voting down Homeland Security appropriations. You're voting down VA appropriations. You're voting down nutrition program appropriations for funding like SNAP, WIC, child nutrition programs, things like that. You're voting down all these programs because they have some anti-woke things in there. And then you complain to your constituents that the Republicans want to cut their programs. They're trying to fund the programs, but you don't want to vote for them because a very small section of the population as a whole wants you to vote against those inclusions.
Right.
And that's not fair to the other constituents in your district.
Yeah.
And it's not fair to people across the country that are depending on, I mean, Homeland Security is pretty important.
Yeah.
And you don't want to fund it. You know, border security is pretty important. You don't want to fund it. And, you know, and then they come out and say, well, the Republicans don't want to, they want to take your SNAP benefits, or they want to take your VA benefits, or they want to take your Social Security. Like, we don't want to take those things, but we want the money for them to be spent properly.
Right. Not allocated to other things.
Yeah.
So it's like when you do like a relief package, like, oh, this amount of money is going to go to this, but then all these other things are going to funnel this museum and this art thing. And I'm like, why does that matter? Like, why are they hurting? You know, during COVID, why are you funding a museum? It shouldn't be open according to you. So,
and those things are like, those are the things that are frustrating. And a lot of people don't even follow that stuff.
No.
So they just take what they're told.
Right.
And they don't.
Or they read a headline.
We have all this technology and information at our fingertips, and people don't even look to see what's really going on.
Right.
And that's one of the main reasons, you know, and I've always felt that way. It's not like some new awakening. But most of it has to do with the fentanyl issue.
Yeah, you want them to
especially
address
now.
it.
I got really upset about Biden's meeting with G, and afterwards he's talking about fentanyl, and I'm like, where were you 2 years ago? You know, fentanyl's not new. It's been on the rise since 15, 16, 17. But in the last 2 years or so, if you look at the data, it takes off like a rocket. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with the current administration and their policies and the ease of which it can come across the southern border.
Right.
Is some of it coming with migrants? Maybe.
Right.
Is most of it coming through the ports? Probably. You know, it still comes in overseas. You can still buy it on the dark web. You can still smuggle it in. You know, my reasoning was this. If our border patrol, our border security people are overwhelmed handling the influx of migrants, they can't do other functions of their job.
Yeah, 100%.
They can't stop people coming in. And one of the talking points at the hearing was, well, it's U.S. citizens smuggling it in from Mexico. Okay. If that's what it is, then we need to be placing extra scrutiny on people coming back from Mexico that are citizens. We can't just wave them through.
Yeah.
But if you're overwhelmed processing the extra flow of immigrants, you can't do that.
Right.
And that's the point that I try to make.
Well, yeah, there's not enough resources.
It's not necessarily that, it's not that the immigrants are the boogeymen and they're bringing in all these drugs, because that's foolish. That's foolish for anybody to think that. But, you know, it exacerbates the problem.
Right.
If you want to do something, if the cartels want to bring drugs in, are you going to risk coming in when it's on lockdown, or are you going to wait until they're overwhelmed?
When there's a surge.
Yeah. And you can come through.
Yeah.
I mean, it should be common sense.
Yeah.
but it's not.
I find common sense not very common these days. So.
Well, I think it's there, but a lot of it is hidden.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of it isn't, you know, they know.
Right. Yeah.
The other side, they know. They're not dumb enough to believe that, you know.
Well, I don't know. They seem to not know how cocaine showed up in our White House.
They know, but they can't say because then they would be out of a job and they want to be there. And I don't, you know, I want to go there to make a difference, but if you think I'm not doing my job or I'm tired of being there, then I'm not going to be there. I'm not going there to get insider stock tips so I can be a millionaire.
Right.
You know, it's not about that for me.
I wish that we would implement performance reviews for like Senate and Congress.
Well, it should be the elections, but
yeah.
no, it's like that movie I was talking about the other day. I can't remember what it was. It was an Eddie Murphy movie, and the guy that was the congressman died like right before the election.
Miraculously, just
and his middle name was the same as the congressman's first name, so he ran just on the name, and he won. And he was a con man. Eddie Murphy's character was a con artist, and he got elected off of name recognition. So he goes up there and starts trying to do his thing, but then he ends up actually carrying and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But that's what I tell. Like, people go in and vote for a name,
right?
Or not even a name. They vote for the party affiliation,
right?
And that happened in San Marcos, with the county clerk.
Yep.
And you get people voted into office just because they have a letter and nobody knows anything about them. They don't know where they really stand on things.
Right.
And they just trust them to go up there and do what they're supposed to do.
Right. Right.
And, you know, I'm not super smart in politics, but I know what's right and wrong.
Well, and you just want to make a difference. Yeah. Which needs to happen. There needs to be some change, some sort of difference. It definitely needs to bring attention to what's going on here in the the backyard of Austin, and bring it to the national attention of like, look, this is a problem. Like, and we don't want to blame it all on, migration and everything. Regardless of your view of how it's coming here, it's a problem. It needs to be handled.
Exactly.
And that's the bottom line of it all.
And that's how we've looked at it from day one.
Yeah.
We want to work. As a nonprofit, we want to work with whoever wants to handle this problem.
Yeah.
Whether it's border security or whether it's harm reduction tools and legislation, treatment, mental health. There's a lot of different components to it. It's not, locking down the border is not going to stop the fentanyl problem.
No. It's definitely not.
We'll never arrest our way out of the problem either. But those are all important pieces.
Right.
And they all have to be there or it's not going to work.
For sure. And
that's that's everything we're dealing with right now. The economy,
It seems
everything.
like a giant uphill battle, but I'm about to pull up my sleeves and get into it.
Well, we have to start hitting the neighborhoods. Everybody's kind of been on break for the holidays, but it's about to start ramping up. And we're trying to get our team assembled, and it's hard.
It is.
Running the nonprofit's hard, but running for office is really hard.
Oh, I know. I've helped school board members run, and I'm sometimes out in an inflatable unicorn costume on the corner to encourage people to vote. So I totally get it.
Smart. I have a Slurpee costume.
Yeah, I'll be down again in a costume any day.
We're trying to find fundraising. I need to find a campaign manager, like all the things that I have no idea. I've met with a couple of really good consultants that the county party has turned me on to, and they've been a help, but there's a lot of work to do. There are two other people that have filed for sure for the primary, and one other possible, so I could have as many as 4 primary challengers. The districts, East Pflugerville, East Austin, East Hayes, all the way down to Northeast San Antonio and Central San Antonio.
Dang, it's that big?
Yeah, it's a weird district.
That is bizarre.
It runs, once you get to it tapers down into San Marcos, and between South Hayes County and Bexar County, it just runs right down 35. It was to connect the two areas, basically. So it does include some of Comal County, but it hugs 35 really close.
So does it include a good old Texas state?
A very small part.
Okay.
They drew around that. That's Chips.
Okay. Okay.
Chip has everything. So it runs, this neighborhood's in it. It runs down Loop 4 till you get to 35. It also it's Jack C. Hayes Trail around to Kyle. So everything east of Jack C. Hayes and Kyle. It kind of goes down, I'm going to call it Rebel Road. It's Veterans Drive.
It was Fajita at one point in time.
Whatever. Fajita Drive, whatever it's called.
I live off of that. I was like, can we just go back to Rebel? Like,
I've been here for 26 years, and we call it Rebel Road. You know? So it follows that down to Kyle, does this weird thing around the streets of downtown Kyle, and then goes south.
okay. So hometown Kyle's in there?
No,
What?
that's Chips.
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
I guess you're in hometown Kyle.
I am. I was like, I can rally our HOA. Like,
No, and we have a lot of friends in hometown Kyle. And it's like, so I mean, you can wear my button, you can spread the word, but it's east of hometown Kyle, out to Highway 21 in Hayes County.
Gotcha.
It pretty much follows 21 and then 35 up to Kyle, kind of snakes out a little bit into Buda, and then back over.
So we need to create like pods, people in pods for you in different areas.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's not a lot of Hayes County precinct chairs and for the Republican Party in my area.
Yeah.
We've met a couple. We're really good friends with one of them in our own neighborhood.
You can carpool.
So, yeah. I don't know anything about two of the people running. I think one of them's a retired sheriff from California.
Don't hold that against them, okay? Because I'm a former Californian.
The other one, I think, is a guy from Alaska.
Yes. I don't claim it.
And then another one lives over in Sunfield.
Okay.
So, but I think, we've got a really good shot with our message, with, what we've been doing, as far as working in the community. I think a lot of people are going to see that, we're really invested in helping people.
Right.
And even if after I'm done in March, if I don't make it through the primary, we're still going to, the nonprofit's still going to be going.
Right.
That's our main thing. We're trying to get that self-sustaining. I mean, the ultimate goal, we already do it full-time. The ultimate goal is it to be our full-time job.
Yeah. Because it definitely needs to be a message for everybody to know and, be able to recognize and create some sort of atmosphere where we can help these kids and keep them from having to go through all of that.
Yeah.
And Hayes County's been great. Hayes County has really been on the front of the fight,
Right.
whether it's Hayes CISD, they've been really proactive with awareness. Their student, what is it called? Their
Student advisory
board about, talking to their peers about fentanyl. Having us come do the presentations. We work really closely with them. Then obviously the sheriff's department, we work really closely with them as well.
Yeah. I actually spoke at my kids' old school board. They went to Wimberley, and I said, look, this is going on in Hayes. It's our neighbor. You guys got to be prepared for it. And so then they brought you guys in to the VFW hall and whatnot to speak.
But we have not been to the school.
No.
Yeah.
We went for that parent thing.
Yes.
It's the schools, obviously, because we kind of have a captive audience. But one thing that's discouraging is the parent presentations.
They're not showing up.
No.
Should be mandatory.
Eanes they filled their performing arts center at the school. And it's like 1,500 capacity, and it was full on the parent night. The other places we've had it, it's hit and miss, mostly miss. And it's, but before this happened, we probably would have been the miss parents too, because number one, they don't hear about it.
Right.
They don't hear about the event. And then, we have 3 kids. People have kids. People have prior commitments. And one of the things I think that is an issue with parents not being as active, and this is what I tell people all the time, is, especially with drugs, is a lot of people look at fentanyl as like, oh, it's just the next thing. It was weed in the 70s, LSD, and then it was cocaine, and then it was crack, and then it was meth,
and acid,
and then it was heroin, and now it's just fentanyl. And they look at it like it's just the next drug, but it's so much more potent.
Right.
And
what do they say? The end of a pencil is the size that's lethal.
Yeah, just a few grains.
Yeah.
I don't have sugar packets.
During my presentation, I always tell the kids, like, I don't like this photo because it's so magnified. It makes it look like a large amount. And I'll ask kids, who knows how much 2 milligrams is?
Right.
And they'll do this. And I'm like, absolutely not. Like, no. So I'll pull out a pack of Splenda and I'll pour it out, or Anthony will pour it out. And I'll tell them, like, this is just a pack of Splenda, not even enough to to sweeten my tea. But this pack of Splenda is 1,000 milligrams, and had this been fentanyl, it could kill 500 people.
Oh my gosh!
And that's when they can relate. They're like, oh, because they don't understand you need to show them.
Yeah. It's like they have to have a measurement of value to like make it make sense to them.
But even then, we've done presentations where we've left and then a student is being poisoned, and we did a panel in Rockwall, and there was a mental health person talking, and usually at the end of my presentation, I will say something like, Noah was not a bad kid.
Right.
Noah made a bad decision.
Right.
But after hearing this lady talk, she said that kids are not bad. They're not making bad decisions. They're making impulsive decisions. Yeah. Kids are not wired to make good decisions, So now that really hit with me, So now that's what I say, like, Noah made an impulsive decision.
Yeah.
Because they could see our presentation and then be offered something in the restroom and just forget what they just saw and what they just heard. And I had a teacher over at the Impact Center here. She's a good friend of mine. She was telling me how frustrated she was with some of the other teachers who were like, how could this person be so stupid? Like, they know fentanyl's out there. How could they be so stupid? A child had, was poisoned. And she's like, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Is these teachers being desensitized to it. Like, that's the problem right there, because it's not the child's fault. Like, it's a mental health problem.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. Ay. Well, I hope with this podcast that it literally gets people interested to show up to parent night and fill those, performance arts buildings where this message is just constantly wash and repeat, wash and repeat, wash and repeat, to that where then it becomes them, your story becomes them to make the difference that needs to happen. Yes. And because you definitely don't want to have, more people go through what you guys went through and have that outcome affect the rest of their life and their siblings' lives. And I mean, you have a 1-year-old.
A 1-year-old
that doesn't know Noah.
Doesn't know. And in fact, the last picture I took of Noah was him holding his baby brother when we got home from the hospital.
Yeah. And so just to keep like his memory alive, and so that way that doesn't become other people's memory. Like that's what you have to hold on hope for, and that your guys' story is that fuel for that. And I have to say that you guys have like the biggest heart to be covering this and traveling with this, but also the strength and courage you have to constantly like relive those moments and relive that, to then be able to portray what it really is. It's not a pretty situation. It's not like some Hollywood movie, you know, where everything has a happy ending. So I have to commend you guys for having the strength and the courage to not just destroy your lives with this, and to have the strength to build what you have built, and to run for Congress trying to make a difference, and with your guys' foundation to make a difference. So
Thank you.
thank you for taking the time today, and thank you for being vulnerable with me and making me ugly cry, because you're the only person that's made me do that on here. But I hope the best success for you guys,
Thank
and
you.
Thank you.
especially for you and your journey ahead, and hope God protects both of you guys as you walk this path. And let me know if you need any help, because I got some resources too. So, all right.
For sure. Thank you.